We would like to introduce you to LandMentor, a new type of a product that will create a 21st century sustainable future for the world's developments. Sustainability, what does that mean? It's almost on every consultant's website, yet this is the type of development that they produce from their CAD systems. We define sustainability in land development because in three areas: economics, what can we do to lower the construction costs but raise the value? Existence, the human factors. When you enter that neighborhood, no matter what your income is, do you feel a sense of pride because of the neighborhood you live in? And the environmental factors is to do responsible things that reduce environmental impact but doesn't destroy the economics or attractiveness of the development. The balance of those three E's that we call will lead to sustainable development. The barriers, well, the barriers are in the form of our ordinances. Every ordinance starts out with a purpose and intent. In the purpose and intent is why that ordinance exists. So we look at the key words. What are the key things in that purpose and intent that the city's trying to accomplish? In this case, Fredericksburg, Texas has these great goals for their ordinance, yet no one looks at them. They look right at the regulatory minimums and they try to squeeze every single unit out of that development to the regulatory minimums. This isn't true in Fredericksburg, Texas, and all around the world. And the result is this cookie cutter world that we live in. That's what results in it. And there's no way the minimums can ever satisfy the purpose and intent, nor can they ever achieve sustainability. Meanwhile, the developer gets the blame for following the minimums that the city tells them to follow. And the problem is a set of regulations sets the course of the city, and the destination could be pretty bad. And that's why you have this unsustainable world that we live in. But there's more. Technology is also one of the problems. Why? Well, we started writing software for civil engineering and land surveying in 1976. At that time, the Cray 1 was the most powerful computer in the world. Today, your iPhone 4S is twice as fast with 1,000 times more memory. So you got to ask yourself, why do we design like this? And that's because software, including all of our past packages, can only do one thing. They can get those minimums and they can get them in as fast as possible. And from a software vendor's website, they boast about doing up to 250 lots in just 1 minute. So at 4 homes per second, how much of this do you think the planner is thinking about? Economics, distance, and environment. So we started 23 years ago looking at it and saying, okay, we've got the technology, why don't we start working on the methods? The collection of methods today is called Profurbia. LandMentor is the vehicle to teach Profurbia methods and also to provide the technology to create a better world. So in 23 years, we've done 800 developments and for over 300 contracted developers in 46 states and 17 countries. Essentially, we have two companies that work in conjunction. Profurbia as technique and regulatory solutions is Rick Harrison site design. LandMentor is the company that owns the technology and that owns the education. That's what we'll be talking about today. LandMentor is owned by Neighborhood Innovations. And that's where we expect to make a huge change in the world. Meanwhile, the planning firm will still push the envelope of design. LandMentor technology has quite a few breakthroughs. Up until LandMentor, land developments have been communicated by lines and arcs, but lines and arcs represent surface area. The surface area can be embellished with textures and colors so that a plan could be more communicative without any extra effort. It is still a civil engineering surveying system, but it's designed to push the envelope of planning. It's very easy, 1 week learning curve, no commands. These surface shapes define the world that we live in. Look about you. There's no lines and arcs. There's no dimensions. We live in a surface-based world. So we need a surface-based technology to push the envelope of design. Once we have the surfaces in a precision format, we could throw that information to a video game engine. Why a video game engine? Because the learning curve is essentially 0 for everybody that's under the age of 40. We've been brought up in a video game era. Let's take advantage of that technology. With no effort, you can create height on the buildings, and you can easily add 3D SketchUp models to embellish the plan, push the envelope of presentations, and then you don't have to wonder what it will look like, including how it relates to the topography around you. So presentations will no longer be about having a plan that no one can visualize into having a system where there's no more guesswork. The viewer is offered free, but you need the LandMentor format to view sites. So by creating a technology specific to sustainability, we can move beyond this CAD-based world that does nothing but replicate the same shape over and over and over. But we need to educate. This is your first exercise. Where's the waste in this proposal? This CAD-based drawing is something that any developer might say, wow, they maximized the amount of units on my site, but they also minimize the livability. By having a surface-based system, not only does the drawing become more communicative, and you could say, wow, this is these units look directly into each other, but it also measures space. So by measuring space, we could start teaching where the waste is. For example, the red streets are not being fronted at all. That's 100% waste. The magenta streets, 50%, they could have fronted the public street, but they didn't. So once you can measure waste, which most of the pavement is in the form of waste, start eliminating it, what you could do is create a better design. Because without all that waste, you now can create something that's better, that you might want to live in, and we actually gain 7 units with a 4% less total impact on the environment. Flow. What do we mean by flow? This is going to shock you. It's a reduction of time and energy while traveling through a neighborhood. It is not taught in universities. This is how regulations can destroy flow. For example, this small development, the county engineer said, you are not getting that intersection because it's too close. Well, they said, just bring the cul-de-sac into the site. When you measure that, there's 1,750 feet, there's 10 trips a day. That means we are circling the Earth every decade 7 times. Because of that tiny little change, we will burn an extra 6,000 gallons of gas. But more important, the people will take 50 weeks out of their lives driving through a residential neighborhood just to get to the same 35-mile-an-hour county road that we would have gotten to. Well, needless to say, when we showed this to the county engineer, we got our intersection where we wanted it. Common sense has started to leave design in our neighborhoods. So we started measuring just how much time and energy does it take to get a vehicle to residential speed. Well, it takes 200 feet. Then the vehicle is very efficient, but you got to come to a stop, right? So it takes another 200 feet in soccer mom speeds. So flow cycle's 400 feet. By the way, no other firm has come up with this, not the EPA, not the U.S. government, and not any university. Our firm has brought this attention to the market. With that, we can start looking at efficiency of design. This is an approved plat in New Braunfels, Texas, that would have been built. When we look at it from an efficiency standpoint, it looks extremely efficient. However, when we look at it from an time and energy standpoint, it's anything but efficient, because these small segments, people never get to an efficient time and energy speed. It actually takes more time and energy to get home. So what looks efficient is anything but. It's not even safe. The same site we planned, we look at a Main Street design, very efficient, that maintains flow. Overall time and energy would plummet in this neighborhood. Imagine if every neighborhood in the world was built like this. Would we have the global warming? Would we have the fuel consumption we have today if 50 years ago these neighborhoods were designed better? So we're looking to minimize what we call flow cycles. We have 33% less street in this neighborhood, and we have the exact same density as the grid, but we have a lot more value. So increasing flow while minimizing waste is a huge impact, and you certainly aren't going to get there when you take a CAD package to minimums. And so the technology that the world uses today is the wrong technology. We've won plenty of awards with this technology and these methods, and now it's time to bring it to market. As far as endorsement, we've been written up in almost every environmental and land development oriented magazine, as well as general publications like the New York Times. We've been endorsed by a multitude of private and public and nonprofit organizations. So where are we today? We're in our 4th iteration of the beta. We've had about $100,000 in beta sales. Our patents are pending. We have no commands in our software. We have the first graphic user input interface. We are applying for patents on that, and that will apply to all software in the future. Our development costs so far are $750, entirely paid for by our planning income that was helped with our technology. So essentially, LandMentor has paid for the development of LandMentor. We have to go to the market. We need about 80% of the market is going to be complacent, the consultants. They're not going to want this system. They're going to be until they have to be forced for losing work. The low-hanging fruit is going to be the first adopters. We figure that's about 35,800 total customers. To get that, we'll need to sell salesmen. They have a 12 seats per month quota. We figure about 66% will get additional training. Our ramp up will be, first 6 months will be an advisory board. Then after 12 months will be a marketing manager and CEO. We'll add some sales consultants, get them up to speed. They will train other sales consultants, and we will have a university dedicated sales consultant because we are going to dedicate packages to universities. And we'll hire an assistant programmer and build up our support and training staff. That will be an 18-month ramp up. Within that 18 months, we will be developing a civil engineering edition. We'll have a dedicated sustainability presenter. So we'll have income producing personnel, and we'll have people that go out and start teaching. Once the civil engineering extension is available, that next 30 to 60 months, we will increase our market 20%. We'll open up international distribution channels. We will entrench universities to create a new generation of sustainable designers. And that by that time, after 60 months, we'll have about $100 million of income. At that point, we'll start getting market share, and we start really changing the world, because once we get market momentum and start getting market share, that's when the methods will be out there, the technology will be out there, and then that's when you'll see results worldwide. As far as pricing strategy, we will undercut Autodesk, Bentley, and ESRI in price while giving much greater flexibility, ease of use, lower learning curve, and create a system that will literally change the world we live in and create an industry that will function far better than what's on the market. At the same time, we'll be donating systems to universities so that we create a new generation of designers to create a sustainable world that promises to reduce the future infrastructure by 25 to 50% for development and redevelopment.